Hello and welcome to Out of State DMing Podcast. I'm your host, lluksblackheart, and your co-host.
Iskian.
Join us to discuss 3.5 D&D. Today's episode will be centered around rogues. We'll be going over their class features and then discussing some of the shenanigans that could possibly be in the future for them. I would say note that they are really good unless not used good.
Effectively, properly,
Yeah, effectively, properly.
as intended.
Yeah, it's intended. Uh, they are great scouts, lookouts, and their backstab is probably one of their backstab. Their sneak attack is one of their best features, which is right there. They get at level one. Uh, that die six and the separate bonus die six they get at every other level doesn't the die type does not change based on hit dice. More hit dice. The hit dice does not change based off of what weapon you're using, your size, or anything like that. So small size creatures and large size creatures use that D6. D6 light weapons, heavy weapons, two-handed weapons, all that is this, which means you can take a not so effective weapon like a dagger. With sneak attack, you're now keeping up damage wise with some of the people using two weapon fighting or
Well, that
two handed
implies
weapons.
that implies you're in place too to do a sneak attack.
Well, there are several ways to do sneak attack, and the big thing around it is catching your opponent flat foot, which is pretty much whenever they're losing, whenever they lose their dexterity versus your attack, Vita being bound in place, immobilized, unaware of your presence, anything that removes their dex from their AC permits you a sneak attack, which can be a big help to the party when you sneak up and you shank the person. It also works with flanking, which means if you're trying to do more of a combat rogue where you're actually in the midst of combat, flanking, just go for flanking. Don't try to solo a big bad guy by yourself because unless you're getting that flat foot, it's only going to work once. You want to get that flanking. It's not only plus two to hit, but create entities with sneak attack, like rogues, automatically add their sneak attack damage to it just for being in the flank. The only real cons are anything that's not living, sneak attack does not work on. It
So you're back
also
to your 1d4 damage if it's a dagger.
yeah, because it's only living creatures with discernible anatomy that can actually be affected. So undead don't have a discernible anatomy because they're undead. Constructs don't have it because they're freaking machines. Oozes are they're oozes. Try to stab an ooze all you want. It's not gonna yay.
They're
Plants
liquid.
don't have
They're
a
a liquid
discernible
congealed jelly type
mhm,
substance.
yeah. Plants also don't have a discernible anatomy. Incorporeal creatures lack the vital areas to actually attack. So there is an array of creatures that you can't sneak attack.
And I've played in a campaign where I was a rogue, and the person that was the leader at the time, he decided to go in a direction where we fought undead. I was very frustrated.
Well, yeah, that's because undead,
I could have
construct, oozes,
sneak attack
plants, and
anything.
incorporeal are pretty much the bane of a rogue because they're like, well, my sneak attack's out. Sneak attack can be done with range. There's a lot of people that out there go, no, you can't use range attacks. No, as you can clearly
If you
see stated right there, range attacks can count as sneak attacks only if the target is within 30 feet.
if
A
you
rogue
can't be
can't
seen,
strike
it's a
with a
sneak attack.
deadly accuracy from beyond that range. The only catch 22 is you can't flank with range attacks.
No, but you're
But
invisible. So,
sneaking up to within 30 feet, popping that attack off, yeah. And that does lead to action. There is known as the sniper action. It's not recommended if you don't have a high enough stealth, where you can make an attack with a ranged weapon and then reinitiate your hide, but you suffer a -20 to your hide check. So unless you have a high enough hide to counteract a -20, while also
or
being
have
able to
hide in
still
plain
get
sight,
high. Well, hide in plain
or
sight
have
lets
hide in
you
plain.
hide while being observed. The sniper action lets you do the attack while maintaining your stealth. Therefore, there is no actual like, oh, he's over there, so I'm going to fireball that direction there, or everyone's gonna bum rush in that direction there, because you have to wait till your next turn to do the have hips work again.
So why wouldn't you just be able to get off another sneak attack if you
Uh,
hit somebody from behind and they can't find you because they're engaged in other with other
well, the catch
uh, players?
22 with sneak attack is unless the DM is deciding to be either really kind or just not necessarily caring about every little detail, you can only pull off, unless you're flanking, when you do, you can only pull off a single sneak attack in a turn. Because after that attack, hit or miss, they are now aware of your location and no longer subject to sneak attack because they're no longer flat foot against any additional attacks you make. The only way to
So they don't
counteract
get flanking.
that is to have improved, they can improve invisibility, be flanking, or if you're trying to use ranged, have a high enough stealth to use the sniper action, which you're only getting one attack off if you're trying to use a sniper action because you're using standard action to attack and then your move action to reinitiate the hide. And all it really is they know what direction the attack came from, but they don't know how far it is or where you're actually at. Because you're able to actually reinitiate that stealth. So even though stealth sneak attack is probably one of the most outrageously powerful features any particular class can get, it does have its restrictions. Like I said, the first attack, first flat foot, being flanked, and then not working against things without a discernible anatomy. So yeah, I said it has it, but under the right conditions, you can end up out damaging everyone else in the party. Especially if you're like trying to do a two weapon fighting rogue that relies on flanking. Just with two weapon fighting, you get more attacks, and if you're flanking, each one of those attacks, if they hit, you add your sneak attack, which means you can pop up with daggers and just sneak attack stab someone repetitively while flanking. And even though people may laugh that you're using a die for weapon, you're going, well, I'm a level 7 rogue, which means each one of these stabs is being augmented by 4 die 6. So you can look at everyone else, go, how many die 6 are you rolling? Because I'm getting 4 each time I stab someone. And because of that level, they're level 7. Well, it's a +5 base attack, but with two weapon fighting, it's like the flanking's counteracting the -2 to both attacks for using light weapon with two weapon fighting. So it's like, yeah, I'm getting +5 to both these swings, not counting strength. Or if you're going finesse route, dexterity. So there is ways to make sneak attack more efficient, but it primarily relies around flanking, which means trying to get a best AC you can as a rogue and having a hefty con. Because if you're trying to be the combat rogue, there's a good chance you're going to get swung at because you're putting
Well,
yourself in
and
a very risque position to be the most advantageous with your sneak attack.
well, dexterity is something that a rogue wants to have anyway, so you might
Yeah.
as well pump it up as far as possible.
And if your dexterity is high enough, you just take weapon finesse with daggers. So you end up relying on sneak attack to give you the actual damage while you're sitting there going high dex, step, 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 step.
Or short swords.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a die better damage. So,
it is. But then it also goes into whatever place I also some people might go, I have sickles. Or they might pop up with gauntlets, wearing gauntlets, because they count as a light weapon. The next ability they get, and this is probably one of the most important abilities in the game, is trap finding. The reason is if a trap has a DC 20 or higher search check required to find it, only someone with a trap finding can find it. And that's because like it's supposed to represent like one, the uniqueness of the rogue, and two, the importance of the rogue. So you can have be sitting there with whatever class you have and go, I have a plus 25 in search. I'm gonna search for traps. It's like, oh, it's a DC
you're not
20.
finding anything.
You're not finding anything if it's a DC 20 or higher, which means any trap worth their salt, you're not finding. It doesn't matter if your minimum you get is a 26. If it's a 20
And
or
then
higher, it just stares at you like, I'm John Cena.
you all go kaboom, and there's a
Yeah.
party point.
Yeah, and rogues and only rogues can use disable device skill to disarm magical traps. So unless you're like dispelling anything, using dispel or uh, greater dispel, when it comes to magical traps, you need the rogue. Uh, yeah, so it's not I don't always recommend using the take 10, which is it mean basically I use my standard action take 10 to disarm it because a trap, if you fail the DC by 5 or more, you trigger the trap. So if you're not familiar with the type of trap, don't, if you know it's like, on average, I need to get a 20 or higher to disable it. You look at your disabled device and your disabled device is a plus 5, you're like, not taking 10. Just if you need to get in the 20s to disarm something, you don't want to deal with a plus 5.
Otherwise, the trap goes
Yeah, yeah,
kaboom, and it's a
yeah.
party wipe.
Otherwise, yeah, you're disabling the trap by activating it, and that's only if it doesn't have a reset, and a lot of traps have a reset. So it's like, be cautious about it. Evasion, like I said with other classes, previous episodes with evasion, this is probably one of the best abilities anyone can have. Does it's a pretty much a I either take no damage or I take all the damage. And it only applies to reflex saving throws that normally let you take half damage on a successful save. So as long as your
But
reflex is
it
high
was
enough,
half damage. Even if
no, that's
you failed, it
improved.
was half damage. Okay.
Improved, that's improved. Normal evasion is you take nothing or you take everything. So it's an all or
Right.
nothing
Okay.
gambit. Unlike everyone else, which is I'm either taking full damage or half damage. They're like, oh, I one up you by full or none.
Fireball? Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll just evade.
yeah. Uh, Trap sense. I love trap sense. Any class that gets trap sense is really really good. good main reasons is the bonus that it gives you can be applied to reflex saving throws and dodge bonus to AC against traps. So the higher that gets, which a rogue at level 3 gets a +1, and then by the time they're level 18, it's a +6. So they're really good at
Like
just not being affected by traps. It is
the
limited to
the
only traps,
I
but
didn't
still
see that
traps,
trap there.
pretty
I
much.
get to I didn't see
Oh,
that trap.
they
Well,
get
it's been
both the
affecting me.
uncanny dodges, normal and
Yes.
improved. Which pretty much for those at home who don't know, uncanny dodge lets you retain your dexterity when caught flat-foot or struck by an invisible target. You still use it if you're immobilized, but it's one of those you can't catch me flat-foot. If you already have it from a other class feature such as barbarian, you automatically get improved dodge. So if you're trying to be a rogue barbarian, which does happen a lot, well, not necessarily a lot, but it does happen because they pair well together. Whatever you get first of uncanny dodge, whoever gets it second automatically puts it to improved uncanny dodge, which is normally an 8th level thing. So a 4th level rogue, 2nd level barbarian has improved uncanny dodge, which pretty much lets you you can't be flanked. So other rogues and stuff don't get the benefits of flanking.
Nobody gets the benefit of flanking.
Pretty much. And the only way for a rogue, another individual to actually benefit from flanking is they have to be a rogue of 4 levels higher. So at level 8, in order to be flanked, it has to be by a 12th level rogue, which is generally not in your favor anyways because you're fighting a higher level rogue, but those rogues can flank you. The next ability is called special ability, which is funny. Their next special ability is called special ability. They get this several times, 10, level 10, 13, 16, and 19. Um, they get a special ability
They're
from
extra
the chosen
abilities.
among the listed options, and these particular things can either make the rogue a wee bit more broken, or just accent whatever you're trying to go for. The first one is crippling strike. What this does is whenever uh, when a rogue with the ability to sneak attack an opponent with such precision that her blows weaken and hamper them. An opponent's damaged by one of the sneak attacks also takes 2 points of strength damage. And they return, because it's damage, it returns at 1 point per day, which pretty much translates to you hit them with a sneak attack, you roll your sneak attack damage, and because the sneak attack worked, their strength drops by 2 whole points. Some people may not necessarily see that as a big thing, but what that pretty much means is all of the enemy's melee attacks take a -1 to hit and damage rolls. That's a big deal because you're decreasing their accuracy and damage output. And since that stacks, so for instance, if you get like, let's say, 3 sneak attacks off because you're flanking, that's 6 points they lose, which drastically reduces their combat efficiency by 3 whole points. Not to mention the fact that regardless of how many hit points it has, if a strength reaches 0, the target dies. So it pretty much means like, oh, this is a really tough fight. I'm flanking. I'm hitting sneak attack. All I have to do is hit him enough times for his strength to hit 0. Because as his strength gets also lower, their weight capacity limit starts to decrease, which means at a certain point they get even easier to hit because their max dex drops and their overall speed starts to go down because they no longer have the strength to carry all their crap. Which means once it gets to a
Unless
certain
you're me and
point,
has
go ahead.
unless you're me and you have all that neat stuff and you can't hit anything because your dice hate you.
Yeah.
Or the dice
The
bot is trying to kill you, one of the two.
the next one, which is defensive roll, this one's a lot. When the rogue can roll with a potential lethal blow to take less damage from it when they otherwise would. Once per day, you may, yeah, but when you would be reduced to zero for hit points by a damage in combat from a weapon or blow, not a spell or special ability. So it has to be someone who's hitting you. You can attempt, uh, yeah, the rogue may attempt a roll with the damage. To use the ability, the rogue must make a reflex saving throw equal to DC damage dealt. If you succeed, you take only half damage from the blow. If you fail, you take full damage from the blow. You must be aware of the attack and able to actually execute the order for it to happen. So if you're denied your dexterity bonus, you can't use this ability. If you're immobilized, you can't use this ability. The evasion and improved evasion does not work on this at all. Because there is some people who go, oh, it's reflex saving throw for damage. Therefore, if it states it that a rogue's evasion ability does not apply to the defensive role. So, like I said with previous episodes, read the ability to its fullest. But it pretty much can save a rogue's life. The next ability they can choose is probably one that most people choose at that point. It's improved evasion,
Oh,
which
yeah,
means
always.
you either take no damage or half damage from saving throw reflex saving throws. So if someone hit you with a
Like I said,
fireball,
fireball,
if you
full
fail, you
damage.
take half damage. If you pass, you take no damage. So it's a really, really good ability.
At that point, you're a wizard's worst nightmare because they cast fireball and you keep coming.
Pretty much.
While everybody else is on fire, you're going, you suck. I'm coming after you.
Yeah. Uh, the next ability is ability that, for some weird reason, I've never seen a rogue take, despite what it does. It's called Opportunist. Once per round, the rogue can make an attack of opportunity against an opponent who has just been struck for damage in melee by another character. It counts as your attack of opportunity for that round. Even if you have combat reflexes, you can only use this ability once per round, which means if you're flanking a person and the other person you're flanking with hits them, you can immediately go opportunist, make that attack of opportunity to get that extra sneak attack for flanking and right then and there. So it's one of those like, why wouldn't you take this ability? There is skill mastery, which this ability can be easily misused. Uh, you take it, you get 3 plus your intelligence modifier worth of skills to pick, and those skills you can take 10 on under anything, including duress. So you can literally be being attacked by a monster and still take 10 on your disable device to disable a trap or open a secret door. So it can, under any circumstance, you're like 10. Slippery Mind is a decent one. Uh, You get the ability to wriggle free from magical effects that would normally otherwise control or compel you. You may use slippery mind for enchantment spells or effects that uh, rely on that. You may make one attempt again 1 round later at the same DC, and you get yeah, you get only this one extra chance to succeed on the saving throw, so you don't get it repetitively. So if someone's
What
like,
extra?
if if like a vampire does dominate mind on 1 round later, you can resist it again to see if you can break free or not.
Yeah, I mean, if you fail your save on something like that, or friends, or um, it's always nice to get a second chance.
Yeah. The last one is you get to pick a new feat. So instead of getting a special ability, you can get a new feat. Now, if you noticed, no matter what level, they don't get hide in plain sight, which can be a Debbie Downer. Uh, at this moment, I have to go take care of something because we pretty much covered the main basis of the rogue. So my co-host, enamor them with some of the roguish tales.
What
Uh,
are you doing? I am not enamoring anybody with anything. You're the one man
yeah,
knowledge
well,
book.
well, I'm the knowledge book, but you have stories and tales to tell about them. I have to take care of something real quick, otherwise, yeah, problems. So I will be back in a few moments. Like I said, just enamor the audience with tales of what you've done as a rogue, options you
Tells us
see
what you've
foresee
done
as
as a rogue.
rogues. Yes, I'm making you do work.
Oh, but I have no tails. Hmm. Sorry, folks. I do not have any real stories to tell. Lux just needs to come back, as this is really his show. Um, However, without a rogue, if you come across a locked chest, or the the container that has what you think is all the good loot, and in order to find out if it has all that great loot, you're going to have the rogue to be able to unlock the chest, disarm the traps. Of course, if he fails the trap, he may be the only one surviving. If I had any of the material in front of me, I could continue this. However, I have nothing in front of me. I just interject and trying to I talk over his ramblings sometimes. But yes, if you are a rogue and the whole entire reason is so that you can help with combat and do all the backstab, the sneak attacks, also used to be known as backstabbing, and your campaign takes you the way of the undead, daggers are not going to do you any good. Or at least, well, if it's skeletons, daggers aren't going to do you any good anyway because daggers or slashing weapons don't affect skeletons all that well. You need bludgeoning weapons. Which, if you had two maces or one mace, that'd be great, but you still can't get any extra damage because undead. And you would think that a vampire would be something that you could get a sneak attack on. No, no, undead. What would have been nice is if I had been given a heads up that this was going to happen. But of course, he neglected to decide to do that. I've played several rogues. I just don't have any tails because, oh, is he back?
What do you mean you don't have any
He's
tails?
back. Exactly what I
I
said.
said it was going to be back. So
Yeah,
you
but
didn't enam.
had
I hate you.
I rambled like you, but
Mm.
what would have been nice is for you to not have just dropped that on me.
Well, one, the purpose of a co-host is if something happens to me, you can do something other than not have tales of wonder.
Yeah, well,
And two, unexpected
it,
things happen all the time. I don't sit here and penalize you every time you have something unexpected happen.
no, but a heads up that something was going to happen
It
because that obviously you knew about it.
did for the about the
Obviously,
30 seconds leading up to it. Well, to summarize the fact apparently he doesn't have any stories. God, I need to get a new co-host. No stories for rogues. Um, do pretty much enamor people with the awes and wonders of some shenanigans for rogues. Uh, One of my least favorite rogues, because I'm not actually going to name drop, um, was a person that decided that everything they needed to get was ill-gotten, need to be ill-gotten loot, but then was the worst rogue ever. The only thing he actually stole, not that successful or failed, that he actually attempted to steal, was technically was kidnapping. And that's pretty much sums up the only real thing he actually stole, because everything that several party members were giving him, they just put it in their pocket and would tell him about it, and then hint that he needs to steal it, pickpocket them, and then let him pickpocket them, because he couldn't just accept anything; it had to be stolen. It's like, oh, I have this wonderful magical item in my backpack. I wonder if someone would like this because it sniff things. Oh, it's gone. Oh my God, someone stole it. It's like, one, it's
kidnapping and
obvious.
stealing,
It's,
kidnapping and stealing are two different things.
well, that's why I said he never actually stole anything. Um, that and the baby he kidnapped came from an orphanage from Ravenloft. That he then hopped back to the normal plane because another party member who couldn't have kids wanted to adopt heirs. So he kidnapped a child from Ravenloft and then tried to lie about where he got it. He had nothing in bluff because he didn't want to put anything in the bluff. So he sucked at bluff versus a person who had a high sense motive. So it was a obvious, where'd you get it? I found it. Where'd you get it? I got it from an orphanage. Did you legally get it from the orphanage? No. Did you know me? Everything has to be ill gotten gained. What orphanage? Some random one in Ravenloft. The entire party went, send it back, send it back. Just you don't just take shit from Ravenloft. No, what did he do? He dropped it on a random orphanage in the city. So he
Well, would he have been able
displaced.
to get back to Ravenloft?
Yes, the party had access to a portal that went directly to Ravenloft. So they actually had a way to get to Ravenloft and back. But he just didn't because he didn't want to travel in game the week to the location where the portal was, despite the fact he also had access to people who could teleport him there.
So that's a
And
week
that's the
that he didn't have
only
to take.
criminal thing he actually did. So he technically succeeded at it, even though he outed himself and was let to get away from it, which certain people were then mad that I didn't let them have access to things because they say you're no longer lawful and technically you're no longer good. Yes, I am. I worship Bahamut. I am a good guy. No, what you did was let someone that you recognize as fully stealing from you steal stuff from you, which is a very unlawful act. While then also just instead of actually punishing him for anything, you just looked at him and went, just put it back and we're all good. When it came to kidnapping, yeah, and he was supposed to be the good guy, so mm, uh,
Not the good guy.
yeah, it's like the only other attempt where he actually went to try to legitly steal something, he failed horribly, and it was something he didn't even have to steal because he technically owned a portion of it. He had to get there was a vault full of gold, like lots and lots of fucking gold, because he insists him and a party member went and got a huge treasury because they defeated the bad guy and stuff that have it. So he had access to it. Like he could literally just look at the person who the other player who casted all sorts of protection spells to keep that area safe, and go, hey, can you disable those magical things? I want to go get some gold. That's all he had to do. He was like, okay, yay, I'll dismiss them and reset them back up later today. No, he sneaks in, triggering all the fucking magic stuff there because he didn't check for the traps that he knew was there, and then got pissed off when the cryo hydra that was positioned there to protect the treasure nearly killed him. Because how dare you try to kill me? It's like, no, I said I was doing everything I could to protect it. And all you had to do was let me know, and suddenly you could just walk in, grab what you want, and leave. Two, now you don't get any of it because you tried to steal something you didn't have to steal, and now you're blaming me because the shit I had set up to protect it works. So how to start problems within the party without even actually trying? Stupid shit like that. Um,
Being a bad rogue.
it's just not being intelligent. Uh, there has been other cases where people have been like, "I'm the best rogue around," and it's like, Okay, but you're not actually utilizing your stealth skills. Yes, I am. Running forward and biting a table is not using your stealth skills. That's revealing your location because you're running up to bite a table for no other reason because you want to bite a fucking table. There's no reason for it. Combat starts and a party member nearly dies. There's been cases where, as being a player involved in the game and running games, where people didn't have things in search, despite the fact they should have. It's your fault. Uh,
No,
I said they didn't. I said it's like you gotta search for traps. Well, what skill? It's like the search. Okay, I have a +2. It's like you're level 5. How do you have a +2? That a level 5 rogue shouldn't have a +2. That's like a level 1 character that doesn't know anything because they're just new to the game. But a level 5 with a 2. And that's just because of the freaking stat.
it's not only, well, I was just thinking it's not only bards that need a bluff. Um, your illustration of the rogue that stole from Ravenloft is a good example of why all rogues also need bluff, because if they get caught, they need to be able to get
Yeah, they need to be
talk
able to
their way
lie.
out of, yeah, and talk their way out of any situation.
One of my biggest problems with rogues doing stuff in bluff is they either A, don't lie, despite the fact they take feats, they dump as many skill points in it they can, they have a super high charisma. It's like, why are you min maxing your bluff? Because I need it. You you've never lied. Yes, I have. It's like, about what? The village my character's from. One, that was in the first game session. Two, that was over 6 months ago. And three, you haven't attempted to use the skill you're dumping everything into since. And no one cared to call your bluff because they didn't care what village you came from, because they didn't consider it important. Then there's characters that do that. Okay, we're gonna have a decent bluff, but all of the lies are gonna fall under the circumstances of not very believable. Because the more believable the lie, the more of an actual innate bonus you get. That's why role play is important. It's not just I roll random lie. It's what do you say? What words do you say? What actually are you lying about? The certain words can make or break it. Because if you say the wrong thing, then the person gets bonuses against your bluff. So it's like it's both sides. It's double-edged knife. You can mess up really, really badly or succeed simply by saying the right thing. Uh, because there's, like I said, I've run across a lot of rogues that just we're gonna lie to the town guard about where you got this crossbow that has town guard markings on it, while the guards are looking for several missing guards. So the guards are already looking for what could have happened to these other guards because they went missing. They've either been killed or kidnapped. That's the only explanation. And suddenly, here's several people walking through town, and one of them's brandishing a crossbow. The design and marking are specific to the town's guard because they want the town's guard they want a certain way. So it's just not a normal one there. Does the party know this? Yes. Does the party care? No. So much so that the fighter has the shield with the town symbol on it, and another party member is bitching about how hard this is going to be to shell the chainmail because it has town markings on it while walking past guards.
this is a good way to have to fight the entirety of the town guard. I hope there was a party wipe at that moment because that's just everybody being
Oh, you forget.
not using their intelligence.
I'm a lot more evil than that. The party was tossed into the arena.
What did they have to fight?
Their first fight was against goblins, which they didn't do very good against. Mainly because they complained that the magic users didn't use any of their magic. It's like you're not getting proper rest to use magic. They're not going to give you the option to actually escape. And then because they wouldn't stop trying to escape, they had them fight a war troll, a single war troll, because those things are not easy to fight. And unlike the party, the war troll is a big moneymaker for the arena. So, of course, it has all the proper stuff it needs to actually fight. Good armor, good weapon. It was living the life. So even though it technically was property of the arena, it didn't give a crap because it got to fight like it wanted to, and it got all the food it wanted to. It didn't care that it wasn't free. It got to do exactly what it wants to, kill stuff. So it just decimated the entire party because they again they wouldn't stop trying to scale the walls, despite the fact that the walls have a slight incline and they're smooth, so that way you can't actually climb it. I have a good climb check. Well, let me check this DC here. Yeah, you're not making it. I can do it. No, you need to get in the 30s. You have problems getting into the 20s. No. I'm gonna take the axe and start hitting the door we came in at. It's a steel. God, I almost said the wrong thing.
Portcullis?
Yeah, portcullis. This, yeah, the steel portcullis. Your axe is you're dead. You're doling the axe. I'll eventually get through. No, you're not. They've tried attacking guards while they're in transit from holding cells to the prepping there. They've tried after getting the stuff instead of going to an arena to try to escape that way, and it just always failed to a point where the party rogue was executed during one of the escapes as an example of stop doing it. We can stop you. Stop. You're already told win 10 fights, you're going free. Stop trying to get you have your goal. Just survive. No, they kept
Free
trying to do it.
XP.
So they went, yeah, to take free XP because all you have to do is like survive. So it went, yeah, nope, send in the war troll because these people, no, no, they're not. They're not amusing anyone. The fans don't like them because all they see is people constantly trying to break a steel, yeah, steel barricade. Yeah, pretty much break through something they can't break through, scale something they can't scale through, while then running from the actual opponent. So that way they can try to climb up the wall. It's like, it's not entertaining. It's not fun. They're constantly failing at something they know they're going to fail against. So it's like, yeah, no, I'm just going to total party wipe this party. Why? We can escape? I went, you failed every single time. This is the third game session where you've tried to escape. You failed every other time. And it's not even because everything's high DCs or anything. It's just, you guys are stupid. All
Win
because a
10
rogue couldn't
fights,
lie.
get, get XP, and level up after 10 fights. What's
Yeah,
and they won't waste a war troll on you.
pretty much, yeah. Um, there's also other rogues that um, go, I want to be super stealthy. And then they just don't do anything stealthy. It's like, why are you wearing heavy armor? For protection. but these abilities here specifically state they're not going to actually work with that. Yes, they. It says it right there. I'm going to run around with a tower shield. One, you're not proficient with it, so that armor check penalty is affecting a lot of things. And two, you take a -10 to your hide and move silently checks. I'm super stealthy. It's like you have a door on you. You're not
You're a
hiding
rogue. Why are you using a tower shield?
because it's
Why are you trying
protection.
to use a tower
It's
shield?
like, no.
That's not your protection as a rogue.
Yeah, then there's also the whole I'm going to use whip of finesse with a grape sword. A great sword can't.
Not
No,
possible.
no, no. It's not a finesse weapon. It's not a weapon you can take finesse with. Yet, no, no, no. It's these weapons here you can take it with, not a great sword. I'm still doing it. It's not gonna work because it's
I hope you have a high strength because you're not
no.
gonna
They didn't put anything into strength
hit.
because they're not a.
Well, they're
I'm
not
a dex
hitting.
based rogue. I do. It's like, well, the feat won't work on this, despite the fact you wrote it for that, which means you don't get this +4 from your 18 dex. You get this +0 from your strength. But that's not fair. It's by the book. Don't be stupid.
It's it's in black and white.
Yeah, it's like there is no like we can skirt. It's like skirting is skirting is like, going out of your way to find better finesse weapons. For instance, like the Elven Court Blade. It's a two-handed finesse weapon. It's a very effective two-handed finesse weapon. That works, which you're technically not breaking
Well,
any rules or anything. You're just buying it
except
very
for it's
expensive.
a exotic weapon.
I mean, yeah, the Catch 22 is an exotic weapon and stuff, but it's still something that can be done. So, like, lack of knowledge on certain things can hinder you, but still, like, I've had to put up with these shenanigans of I want to be stealthy, but I'm then using stuff that doesn't work with stealth. I want to use finesse weapons, but I'm not using finesse weapons. I want to be a combat rogue, but yet you have an 11 con. I mean, yeah, 11 con and a +2 dex, which is only slightly higher than your strength. So you're going into combat trying to flank, failing to flank because you're getting pwned. On top of the fact that in order to properly do combat rogue stuff, you need a high tumble because it lets you tumble through threatened or occupied squares without provoking attacks of opportunity to actually get that off. So it's like if done properly, a rogue can be one of the most potent characters. But there's so many ways you can fumble the rogue. There's like a key thing is high search, high disable device, hide, move silently, high bluff. Uh, and those should, yeah, yeah, tumble, search, disable device, hide, and move silently should be your top 5 skills because those are the skills that are going to help you out of so many Things
And the
followed up
high
by then
dex.
by like swimming and climbing and balance. But with, like I said, with those 5 being the center point on what skills you focus in, because you're probably going to either be deliberately or accidentally caught in a lie at some point. Bluff. Traps are, unless a DM doesn't like using traps like me, because traps have a way of just killing party members without even trying. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Confirm critical with this trap here. That's a ×4 crit. And that's a level
Oops.
1, and that's a CR1 trap. Did I just cut this party
A-
member in half because
After against first level characters.
yeah, it's like here's 20 damage against someone who has 8 hit points. Cragnux. Um, so being able to find traps and disarm them is key. Being able to not be heard or seen is important. And arguably move silently is somewhat more important than hide because if a creature doesn't look in your direction, you don't need to make a hide check. Because if it's looking in the if it's looking to its left and you're to its right, it doesn't get a spot check because it's not looking in that direction. So if it's like this, if it hears you, it's going to look. But if it doesn't hear you, it's not going to look. Uh, but yeah, it's like those 5 skills. Go high dex if you're trying to be a combat rogue or a more combat oriented rogue. Con is also your friend. If you're trying to be skill heavy, intelligence. Because if you have a high enough intelligence, you get enough skill points to not necessarily have to stress having high stats and everything else, because you have the skill points to get those things high.
And
Does rogues
unfortunately, you
get
also want a decent wisdom.
yeah? Well, rogues are one of the highest skill point characters because it's 8 plus intelligence modifier. So a level 1 rogue with like a 2 and plus 2 intelligence is getting 40 skill points at level 1. And that's drastically more than everyone else. Because everyone else gets
Yes.
either a two plus intelligence or a 4 plus intelligence. So it's like you're sitting there going, "Huh, you guys are getting somewhere between 20 to 30. I'm getting 40, and that's just with what's considered a low intelligent rogue. That's not counting if you're a human, which you get bonus skill points there. Uh, Awkward look. Uh, but yeah, being skill heavy, having high intelligence is good. Uh, there's really not much more to talk about on rogues because we covered their abilities, some of the shenanigans of how to be a horrible rogue, some of the shenanigans about how to be just a good rogue. Because as an ending point, it is easy to be a good rogue. It is also easy to be a bad rogue. On that point, uh, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. And join us next week as we talk about sorcerers. Dun dun dun.